The universe listens to every word you speak. Life is not governed by chance but by the laws of thought and spoken declaration. The moment you declare with conviction, "I am wealthy, I am prosperous, I am free," you align yourself with the infinite riches of the universe. It is not the money in your bank account that makes you rich. It is the wealth consciousness within your soul. The invisible precedes the visible. The unseen words you release in faith shape the world you see tomorrow. When I spoke my declaration of wealth, it was not a plea. It was a decree. A decree backed by faith, joy, and the unshakable belief that abundance was already mine. The world had no choice but to rearrange itself to fulfill my words. Money is an obedient servant. It flows where it is welcomed, where it is expected, where it is spoken of with love and certainty. When you affirm your riches with gratitude, you open the door for them to pour in. The greatest secret is this: you do not wait to see wealth before declaring it. You declare it, and then you see it. The word is the seed, the harvest always follows. That is why I say today I became a multi-billionaire the moment I said it. My declaration was the beginning, and everything else was the unfolding of that truth. Speak your riches, decree your prosperity, and let the universe rush to confirm your word. Words create reality in ways most people overlook. For every word spoken is a seed planted in the fertile soil of the subconscious mind and the unseen universe. When you speak, you are not simply making sound, you are shaping energy, setting vibration into motion, and creating patterns that later return as experiences. Many people wonder why their lives repeat the same cycles of lack, struggle, or limitation, yet they fail to recognize that their own words reinforce the very conditions they wish to escape. To say, "I never have enough," or "I can't afford this," is to give life to poverty, just as surely as declaring, "I am blessed with infinite supply," opens the door to abundance. There is no idle word in the universe. Every statement carries creative power, whether positive or negative, constructive or destructive. Life mirrors back the declarations you make with emotion and conviction. That is why the ancient wisdom teaches us to guard the tongue, for it is the rudder of destiny. If your words are filled with fear, worry, or complaint, you will find your path filled with obstacles. But if your words are filled with faith, gratitude, and certainty, then unseen forces will conspire to make those words flesh. Consider how often people prophesy their own troubles by careless speech. They say, "I always get sick at this time of year," and soon enough, illness appears. They sigh, "Everything goes wrong for me," and life obliges by proving them right. Yet when a person dares to reverse the language and affirm, "I am strong, I am guided, everything works in my favor," the current of life changes direction. Words are magnetic. They draw to you the circumstances that echo their vibration. To speak is to command. The spoken word is not merely description but creation. When you affirm health, wealth, love, or success, you are not pretending. You are planting seeds of truth that will grow into visible form. Just as a farmer does not doubt that seeds in the ground will sprout in time, so too should you never doubt that your spoken affirmations will manifest. The soil does not argue with the farmer, it brings forth according to what is planted. Likewise, the universe does not argue with your declarations. It reflects them back in due season. The great error lies in waiting to see before declaring. Many say, "I will speak abundance when I have proof of it." Yet the proof never comes. For they hold back the very cause of manifestation. Words must come first, for they are the blueprint from which reality is built. The invisible realm responds to your declaration long before the evidence is visible. By saying, "I am prosperous now," you align with prosperity, and prosperity must find its way to you. Every fortune, every breakthrough, every healing begins with a word. To declare is to shape the unseen into the seen. The life you experience today was spoken yesterday, and the life you will experience tomorrow depends on the words you choose today. Wealth is first consciousness, because nothing can appear in the outer world that does not already exist within the inner world. Every fortune, every success, every overflowing bank account begins as a state of mind, a conviction of abundance, and a feeling of limitless supply. The material world is only a mirror, reflecting the inner beliefs, attitudes, and expectations we carry. A person who is poor in thought cannot remain rich in substance, for sooner or later their consciousness will push them back into lack. Likewise, one who is rich in thought, who holds the unwavering knowing that they are divinely supplied, will eventually draw to themselves the money, opportunities, and resources to prove it true. Wealth is not the paper in your wallet or the figures in your account. Those are only symbols of a deeper state. Real wealth is a vibration, a mindset, a consciousness of plenty. When the mind is trained to see abundance everywhere, in nature, in ideas, in opportunities, then wealth begins to flow in countless forms. The one who feels wealthy before the evidence arrives is the one who magnetizes the evidence. That is why some people, starting with nothing, rise to prosperity, while others, even after receiving riches, lose them quickly. The difference lies not in what they possess, but in how they think and feel about supply. Consciousness of wealth begins with the recognition that the source of prosperity is infinite. It does not depend on one job, one business, or one person. It flows through countless channels. When someone clings to fear, believing supply can be cut off, they shrink their own possibilities. But when someone holds the awareness that supply is endless and ever renewing, they remain open to receive. The world responds to expectation. To expect lack is to experience lack. To expect riches is to open the doors for riches to appear. True wealth consciousness is not arrogance or greed. It is an inner alignment with the truth that you are connected to a limitless universe. It is not about boasting of riches you do not yet see, but about knowing that riches are your divine inheritance, and that they will show up as surely as the sunrise. When you embody this awareness, money begins to come in unexpected ways, opportunities present themselves, and people are drawn to collaborate with you. Life reshapes itself to match your inner state. Without wealth consciousness, even great sums of money cannot bring security, for the mind will still worry about loss. But with wealth consciousness, even before money arrives, there is peace, confidence, and the magnetic power to attract more. To live in wealth consciousness is to live in the awareness that you already have enough, that you are already connected to abundance, and that what you require will always come. From that inner knowing, outer wealth cannot help but follow. Declaration is power because it is the act of speaking forth creation with authority, certainty, and faith. A declaration is not a timid wish or a hopeful plea. It is a decree, a statement of truth that commands the unseen to take form. When you declare something with conviction, you set into motion forces both within yourself and in the universe that work to fulfill those words. The difference between casual speech and a declaration lies in energy. One is idle, while the other carries the vibration of authority. Life responds to the vibration of your words, and a declaration sends a signal that cannot be ignored. When a person declares, "I am wealthy," "I am healthy," or "I am free," they are not describing their current condition, but commanding their future. The declaration plants the seed of destiny, and because words are creative, the universe begins to shape circumstances that match the decree. A declaration is an act of faith, a refusal to bow to appearances, and a choice to affirm the reality you desire instead of the one you see. It shifts focus from limitation to possibility, from doubt to certainty, from fear to power. The spoken declaration does more than influence the outer world, it transforms the inner self. Each time you declare a truth, your subconscious accepts it as instruction. The subconscious does not argue or question, it simply receives what is spoken with conviction and sets to work bringing it about. Declarations repeated with strength carve new pathways in the mind, replacing doubt and fear with confidence and expectancy. Over time, what was once spoken in faith becomes lived experience, for the mind and spirit have already accepted it as reality. A declaration also creates alignment. When you declare something, your emotions, thoughts, and actions begin to arrange themselves in harmony with that statement. For example, a person who declares, "I am successful in all I do," will unconsciously carry themselves with more confidence, pursue opportunities with greater courage, and make decisions that reflect their declared reality. The power of the declaration is not only spiritual but practical, for it shapes behavior as well as vibration. There is no limit to what can be declared, for the universe is infinite and responsive. Yet the true secret lies in declaring with unwavering certainty. Half-hearted words carry little power, but a word spoken as law cannot be denied. When a declaration is released with faith, joy, and gratitude, it becomes a command that the universe must obey. This is why declarations have been used across centuries by prophets, leaders, and visionaries. They knew that spoken words backed by belief have the power to move nations, shift destinies, and call forth miracles. To declare is to stand in authority as a creator. It is to recognize that you are not a passive observer of life, but an active shaper of it. Every declaration sends a signal into the unseen, and that signal echoes back in visible form. This is why declaration is power. It is the bridge between thought and manifestation, the invisible command that turns desire into reality. Faith activates riches because it is the unseen force that draws the invisible into the visible, the intangible into the tangible. Without faith, even the greatest opportunities pass unnoticed, and even vast resources can slip away, for doubt acts as a barrier that keeps abundance at bay. Faith is the bridge between your inner conviction and your outer reality. It is not passive belief but active trust, the inner knowing that what you seek is already on its way. Riches are not created by luck or chance, but by alignment with universal law, and faith is the key that turns that law in your favor. When a person has faith in abundance, they are no longer ruled by fear of lack. They walk with a quiet confidence that what they need will always arrive, and this confidence attracts opportunities that others miss. Faith removes hesitation and opens the mind to ideas, inspirations, and possibilities. A doubtful person may see only obstacles, while a faithful person sees doors where walls once stood. This shift in perception is itself wealth, for ideas are the true currency that create fortunes. With faith, a person steps forward boldly, and that boldness brings rewards. Faith also changes energy. It creates an atmosphere of expectancy that money, success, and prosperity cannot resist. Just as a magnet draws iron, faith draws provision. The universe responds to certainty, and faith is the vibration of certainty in action. When you hold faith that riches are yours, unseen channels begin to open. People come into your life, situations align, and resources appear in ways you could never have orchestrated. It may look like coincidence, but it is faith at work, pulling the unseen into your hands. The truth is that riches do not come because of hard striving alone, they come because of belief. Many work tirelessly without ever experiencing abundance, while others who move with faith find themselves lifted quickly to prosperity. The difference is not effort but consciousness. Faith declares that success is inevitable, and life bends to confirm that declaration. Where there is faith, doors open. Where there is doubt, doors remain closed. Faith is wealth in seed form, and when it is nourished, it blossoms into visible prosperity. Even before riches appear, faith gives the feeling of riches. A person with faith can feel prosperous even with little in hand, and that feeling becomes the magnet for more. Gratitude, peace, and confidence flow naturally from faith, and these states of being align with abundance itself. In this way, faith not only attracts riches, but allows you to live richly in the present moment. Faith does not wait for proof. It is the proof. It is the assurance that the promise is already fulfilled, and because of this assurance, the riches must manifest. Faith activates riches because it unlocks the limitless storehouse of the universe and directs it into your life. Money is energy because it flows, moves, and responds exactly like every other form of energy in the universe. It is not stagnant, nor is it fixed. It vibrates, circulates, and shifts according to the consciousness with which it is handled. When you view money as energy, you stop treating it as something scarce or limited, and begin to understand it as a current that can always be tapped into. Energy cannot be destroyed, it only changes form. Likewise, money may come and go, but its source is infinite, and it is always capable of returning in new and unexpected ways. Those who see money as mere paper or numbers in an account often cling to it with fear, believing its supply can be exhausted. Yet when you recognize it as energy, you realize that holding too tightly only blocks its flow. Energy must move, and money must circulate. Just as water that is hoarded in a stagnant pool grows foul, money that is never allowed to move loses its power. But when money flows freely, into investments, into giving, into purposeful use, it grows, multiplies, and returns. Circulation keeps energy alive, and so it is with money. Because money is energy, it carries vibration. The way you think, speak, and feel about money determines the vibration you hold, and that vibration dictates how money responds to you. A person who resents money, fears it, or believes it is evil sets up resistance that pushes it away. But a person who welcomes money with gratitude, respects it, and sees it as a blessing sets up an open channel for its flow. Energy is attracted to harmony, and money flows easily to those who treat it as a friend rather than a foe. Money, like all energy, seeks direction. It goes where it is invited and where it is given purpose. When you set an intention for your money, whether to create security, to expand your life, or to bless others, you give it a path to follow. Energy without direction disperses, but energy with focus builds power. In the same way, money without purpose slips away unnoticed, but money aligned with intention grows and creates more. To honor money is to guide its energy wisely, allowing it to amplify good in your life and in the lives of others. Another truth about money as energy is that it mirrors your own state of being. If you are in a vibration of scarcity, money will seem scarce. If you are in a vibration of abundance, money will flow with ease. The external condition of your finances reflects the inner condition of your energy. Shifting your perspective, raising your vibration, and aligning with gratitude instantly change the way money moves toward you. Energy cannot resist a high vibration, and neither can money. Understanding money as energy frees you from fear and struggle. You no longer see it as something hard to chase, but as something natural to attract. You realize it is always in motion, always seeking channels to flow through, and that by aligning yourself with trust, gratitude, and purpose, you become one of those channels. Gratitude multiplies prosperity, because it is the vibration that unlocks the flow of more. When you give thanks for what you already have, no matter how small it may seem, you create a powerful magnet that draws greater blessings. Gratitude is not just polite acknowledgement, it is a state of being, an inner recognition that life is abundant and generous. When you live in gratitude, you shift your focus from what is missing to what is present, and in doing so, you signal to the universe that you are ready to receive more. The law of life is increase, and gratitude is the key that opens the door to that increase. Every thought and emotion carries a vibration, and gratitude is among the highest. It aligns you instantly with abundance, because it sees the richness already present. Many people chase prosperity while holding attitudes of complaint and dissatisfaction, and they wonder why wealth eludes them. Yet to complain is to affirm lack, and to give thanks is to affirm plenty. The more you affirm plenty, the more life mirrors it back to you. Gratitude multiplies prosperity because it expands your awareness of the good that is already here, and what you focus on always grows. Gratitude also dissolves fear and worry. When you are thankful, you cannot be anxious at the same time. Worry constricts, but gratitude expands. A grateful person knows that even if the supply in hand seems small, more is always on the way. That confidence attracts opportunities, ideas, and support, while fear only attracts limitation. Gratitude creates peace, and peace itself is fertile soil where prosperity can flourish. Money responds to gratitude in a tangible way. When you appreciate what you have, you treat it with respect. You spend with joy, save with wisdom, and give with generosity. That energy ensures its return in multiplied form. A person who resents paying bills or feels burdened by expenses sets up resistance, but one who pays with thankfulness sends out energy that brings more supply. To say, "I am grateful this bill is paid, for it means I had the service and the means," creates a vibration of wealth. Prosperity is never far from those who practice gratitude in both large and small matters. Gratitude also opens the heart, and a generous heart is a channel through which riches flow. When you are thankful, you naturally share, and sharing multiplies blessings. The universe delights in circulation, and giving with gratitude sets that circulation in motion. What you give in gratitude always returns, pressed down and running over. Gratitude, therefore, is not passive, it is a dynamic force that increases whatever it touches. To live in gratitude is to live in a continual awareness of prosperity. Instead of waiting for abundance to arrive before feeling thankful, gratitude declares abundance now. That declaration attracts the very things you affirm. Gratitude multiplies prosperity because it transforms your energy into one of fullness, and fullness always attracts more fullness. You are not waiting for wealth, because wealth is not something that arrives in the distant future. It is something you claim in consciousness now. To wait for wealth is to push it away, to believe it exists outside of you, withheld until some condition is met. But true abundance is not a matter of time, it is a matter of awareness. When you shift your inner state to recognize that wealth is already present in the unseen, you stop waiting and start living as if it were real. That shift in energy and belief is what allows riches to appear in the physical world. Waiting carries with it an energy of lack. To say, "I will be wealthy someday," implies that you are not wealthy now, and the universe mirrors that belief by keeping wealth at a distance. But to declare, "I am wealthy here and now," draws that reality closer, for you are living in the vibration of already having it. Energy responds to the present tense. What you embody today is what you will experience tomorrow. To embody wealth in thought, feeling, and action now is to collapse the distance between desire and manifestation. When you stop waiting, you begin acting and thinking from wealth consciousness. You make choices that reflect abundance rather than scarcity. You carry yourself with confidence, generosity, and certainty, and those qualities attract opportunities and resources. People are drawn to those who radiate assurance and prosperity, and life unfolds in ways that match your inner state. Waiting is passive, but claiming is active. By no longer waiting, You engage the creative power of the universe and invite it to deliver. You are not waiting for wealth, because wealth is already in circulation, and you are connected to that circulation by your consciousness. Just as air is always available to breathe, abundance is always available to receive. Lack comes not from absence but from disconnection. The moment you align with the truth that wealth is flowing, you place yourself back in the current. Opportunities that seemed invisible begin to appear. Ideas that once lay dormant rise to the surface. People who can help arrive at the right moment. All this happens not because wealth suddenly began to exist, but because you stopped waiting and began aligning. The greatest shift comes when you realize that wealth is not only measured in money but in awareness, peace, ideas, health, and opportunities. To feel wealthy now, even before the outer evidence, is to set the stage for the outer evidence to follow. You are not waiting for wealth because the act of waiting is unnecessary. Prosperity exists here, now, in the unseen. By affirming it, embodying it, and acting from it, you bring it into the visible. Wealth is not a distant promise, but a present reality waiting for recognition. When you stop waiting, you allow it to appear. The invisible precedes the visible, because everything that appears in form first exists in thought, belief, imagination, or spirit. The physical world is only a reflection of the unseen world, shaped and molded by forces that cannot be touched with the hand, but are deeply felt in the heart and mind. Every invention, every building, every fortune, and every achievement began as an invisible idea before it became something concrete. The seed of wealth, health, or success is always planted in the unseen soil of consciousness, and only later does it sprout into visible results. To understand this is to understand the true order of creation. What you see outside is born from what you carry inside. When a person desires change, it is useless to only fight with appearances, for appearances are the effect, not the cause. If someone looks at lack in their life and only tries to rearrange circumstances without changing the inner belief, the lack will reappear in another form. But when the inner world is transformed, when thoughts of abundance replace thoughts of poverty, when faith replaces doubt, when gratitude replaces complaint, the outer world must eventually conform. The invisible always comes first, the visible is only its shadow. This principle explains why affirmations, declarations, and visions are so powerful. Speaking words of prosperity, imagining success, and holding inner pictures of abundance are not fantasies, they are acts of creation. They prepare the unseen blueprint from which the visible world is constructed. Just as an architect draws plans before the building is raised, your thoughts and words draft the plans for your life. No building ever emerges without a blueprint, and no life ever unfolds without inner pictures. Patience and trust are essential because there is often a delay between the invisible planting and the visible harvest. A farmer does not dig up seeds the day after planting to check for sprouts. He trusts that the invisible work beneath the soil will soon produce visible fruit. In the same way, your invisible affirmations, prayers, and visions are working long before you see results. The invisible precedes the visible, and faith is the bridge that holds you steady until manifestation arrives. Many dismiss this truth and say, "I will believe it when I see it." Yet the universe responds in the opposite way. You see it because you believe it. Belief, imagination, and declaration create the field where manifestation becomes possible. To demand proof before belief is to deny the creative process, but to believe first is to set it in motion. The invisible is the cause, and the visible is the effect. Understanding this principle gives peace and power. Instead of fearing what appears, you turn inward and adjust the unseen pattern. Instead of fighting outer conditions, you speak new words, hold new visions, and cultivate new beliefs. In time, the outer must align, for it cannot resist the inner blueprint. The invisible precedes the visible, because consciousness is the root, and life is only the blossoming of what has already been planted within. Words are seeds because every word spoken carries within it the power to grow, multiply, and manifest into reality. Just as a seed planted in the earth may seem small and insignificant, but contains within it the potential of an entire tree or harvest, so too do words contain the invisible blueprint of the experiences they will create. A single sentence spoken with conviction can alter the course of life, for words are not empty sounds but creative forces. They are planted in the soil of the subconscious mind, and once planted, they begin to grow into thoughts, beliefs, habits, and ultimately circumstances. When you speak words of faith, love, abundance, and confidence, you are sowing seeds of prosperity into your inner and outer world. These seeds may not sprout immediately, but like all seeds, they begin to germinate unseen. Over time they take root, and in due season they bear fruit in the form of opportunities, relationships, and material blessings. On the other hand, careless words of doubt, fear, complaint, and limitation also take root, producing harvests of struggle, lack, and disappointment. Life cannot help but reflect the seeds sown into it. The soil of the mind does not judge what is planted, it simply produces according to the seeds it receives. If you continually say, "I can't," "I don't have enough," or "nothing works out for me," the mind accepts those words as instruction and brings about conditions to match them. But if you affirm, "I am guided, I am wealthy, and everything flows in my favor," those words are also received and the harvest will align with them. This is why it is said to guard your words carefully, for every word is a seed that must bring forth after its kind. The spoken word carries energy beyond the speaker. Just as a seed spreads its influence beyond its small form to create shade, nourishment, and beauty, so too do words ripple out into the world. Words spoken to others can inspire, uplift, and strengthen, or they can wound, discourage, and weaken. The seeds you plant with your tongue not only affect your own harvest, but also the soil of those around you. Speaking life into others multiplies life in your own experience, for the energy you release always returns multiplied. Time and persistence matter in the planting of words. One seed does not create an instant forest, and one affirmation may not instantly change a life. But consistent planting day after day ensures a rich harvest. The more often you sow words of abundance, peace, and joy, the stronger the roots become until nothing can uproot them. Just as farmers understand the cycles of planting and reaping, so too must we understand that spoken words require faith, patience, and repetition. To live consciously is to become a wise sower of words, knowing that every phrase holds the potential of a future. Words are seeds, and the harvest of tomorrow depends on the words spoken today. Wealth is a divine right because abundance is woven into the very fabric of existence, and every individual is born with access to it. The universe itself is a limitless storehouse of supply, constantly creating, expanding, and renewing. Just as the sun shines freely without discrimination, and the air is available to all without restriction, so too is prosperity intended to flow to every person. Lack and limitation are not natural laws, they are distortions created by fear, doubt, and false belief. At the core of truth, wealth belongs to all as a spiritual inheritance, for it is the expression of life's fullness. To believe that wealth is reserved for a select few is to deny the abundant nature of the universe. Everywhere in nature we see evidence of overflow. The trees produce more leaves than can ever be counted, rivers flow without ceasing, and stars fill the heavens in countless numbers. Life itself demonstrates that increase, expansion, and plenty are its natural expressions. If nature does not withhold, then neither does the source of all creation. Wealth, in its many forms, is meant to be shared, enjoyed, and multiplied. To accept this is to honor the truth that abundance is a divine law, not a privilege. When a person embraces the idea that wealth is a divine right, they step out of the chains of unworthiness and into the freedom of alignment. Many people block prosperity because they feel guilty about receiving or believe that having riches somehow takes from others. But just as one candle does not diminish the flame of another, so too does one person's abundance not deprive anyone else. In fact, true wealth consciousness expands the good of the entire world, for the more you have, the more you can give, and the more you share, the greater the circulation of prosperity becomes. Wealth as a divine right does not mean riches fall into one's lap without action. It means that the right to claim and express abundance is already given. Just as health is natural to the body when it is aligned, wealth is natural to life when consciousness is aligned. The key lies in removing beliefs of lack, struggle, and unworthiness and replacing them with faith, expectation, and gratitude. Once the mind accepts that prosperity is not only possible but rightful, opportunities flow, ideas flourish, and resources align themselves to prove it so. To live in poverty of thought is to deny your inheritance, but to live in wealth consciousness is to honor your divine connection. Wealth is not greed, nor is it excess, it is the natural condition of a mind and spirit aligned with universal law. It allows freedom, generosity, creativity, and peace. It is the ability to live fully, to bless others, and to expand the good of the world. Wealth is not something to chase or beg for. It is a divine right, already available, waiting to be claimed with conviction and faith. The spoken word directs money because words are carriers of energy, and energy responds to intention, tone, and vibration. Money is not an inert object but a form of energy that listens and flows where it is invited. Just as a river follows the path carved for it, money follows the direction given by the words we speak. When you declare, "Money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways," you set a pathway for money to find you. When you say, "I never have enough," you create a block that diverts it away. The spoken word acts as a command, a guiding force that instructs money where to go, how to flow, and in what measure to appear. Every financial condition has its roots in words spoken over time. People who constantly affirm lack, worry, and struggle unconsciously instruct money to remain distant. They reinforce an atmosphere of scarcity by repeating phrases like, "I can't afford this," or "Money always slips through my hands." These statements plant seeds of lack that eventually grow into lived reality. On the other hand, those who speak with confidence and gratitude, saying, "I am always supplied," or "Money flows to me freely," find themselves guided into opportunities, ideas, and circumstances that prove those words true. The difference is not in luck but in the spoken command that directs the flow. The subconscious mind receives spoken words as instructions. It does not question whether they are true or false. It simply accepts them and sets about creating conditions to match. When you say, "I am prospering more every day," your subconscious begins to notice opportunities, draw supportive people, and spark ideas that align with prosperity. When you say, "I am always broke," your subconscious ensures your behavior and circumstances reinforce that statement. Spoken words are the steering wheel of financial experience, and wherever you turn them, money will follow. Money, like all energy, seeks clarity of direction. If you speak with contradiction, declaring abundance one day, but complaining of lack the next, you send mixed signals, and money's flow becomes erratic. But when your words are consistent, confident, and infused with faith, money has no choice but to obey. It aligns itself with the channel you have created. The spoken word is most powerful when backed with emotion and belief. A declaration uttered with gratitude and certainty carries far more force than one spoken with doubt or hesitation. The beauty of this principle is that anyone can redirect money by changing the words they speak. It requires no privilege, no starting fortune, only awareness and discipline. By consistently affirming abundance, by blessing money as it comes and as it goes, by declaring yourself rich in spirit and supply, you create a magnetic pathway that money follows unfailingly. The spoken word directs money because words are living seeds of creation, and money is the obedient servant that grows in the soil of those words. One declaration can change everything, because words carry the essence of creation, and when spoken with authority and faith, they release a power that reshapes circumstances, opens doors, and alters destinies. A declaration is more than a statement, it is a decree, a command spoken into the unseen with the expectation that it will manifest in the seen. In a single moment of clarity, when doubt is silenced and conviction takes its place, one declaration can redirect the entire course of a life. What may have seemed impossible a moment before suddenly begins to align, for the universe responds instantly to the certainty of a declared word. Many people spend years wishing, hoping, and waiting for change, yet nothing shifts until they declare it. Wishing is passive, but declaring is active. To declare is to claim ownership, to say, "This is mine now, this is true now, this is who I am." The very act of declaring creates alignment between thought, word, and spirit, and that alignment generates momentum. Opportunities appear, inspiration comes, and unseen forces rearrange themselves to support the decree. Life cannot resist the command of a declaration spoken with absolute conviction. The power of one declaration lies in its ability to break chains of old belief. A person may have lived for years under the weight of poverty thinking, repeating to themselves stories of lack and struggle. But the moment they declare, "I am wealthy, I am supplied, I am prosperous," with genuine faith, the old pattern begins to dissolve. That declaration becomes a seed of transformation, planting new truth where old limitations once stood. The shift does not always take years. It can begin instantly, because the energy released in a heartfelt declaration is immediate. A declaration also changes self-perception. When you declare, "I am successful," you begin to see yourself as successful, and from that inner vision flows new confidence, new actions, and new results. The outer world reflects the inner shift. Even if nothing visible has yet changed, the declaration plants a new identity, and identity shapes destiny. A single moment of declaring a higher truth about yourself can end years of doubt, and open the door to a life that mirrors that truth. It only takes one declaration because words create ripples far beyond the moment they are spoken. A single decree, repeated and believed, gathers energy and draws resources to it. It is like striking a match in darkness. The light may begin small, but it carries the potential to ignite an entire fire. That is why one declaration, spoken at the right time with the right faith, can collapse years of waiting and usher in immediate change. The universe is responsive, alive, and attentive. It listens not to idle chatter but to declarations spoken as law. One declaration can change everything because it marks the point where a person steps into authority, refuses to bow to appearances, and claims the abundance, freedom, and success already written for them. So today I tell you with certainty, your words are your fortune. Your declaration is your key. The moment you dare to speak abundance as your truth, the universe rushes to confirm it. Wealth is not waiting for you in some distant tomorrow. It is waiting for your voice to call it forth today. Stand in your power, open your mouth, and decree your prosperity. One declaration can break the chains. One declaration can open the gates. One declaration can transform your life forever. Say it now, believe it now, and let the riches of the universe flow to you without limit.